producing border area, extending a standoff that has edged the two countries closer to a full-blown war. South Sudanese troops wrested control of the Heglig oil field from Sudan on Tuesday, prompting widespread condemnation from global powers and vows of retaliation from Sudan. Of course, we'll be dealing with this issue later in our show, but first we'll have a quick look on the major Arab news that took place during this week.
Islamist groups called for protests on Friday to press for the remnants of the previous regime from running for presidency. Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood and Salafi groups held a protest in Cairo on Friday to demand that members of ousted President Hosni Mubarak's regime be barred from running for public office. The Islamist groups, which have dominated politics since the popular uprising last year toppled Mubarak, are calling for the protection of the revolution in statements on their websites. They object to former regime figures such as ex-intelligence chief Omar Suleiman and former foreign minister Amr Moussa running in the presidential election May the 23rd and the 24th. The call for protest signals an escalation by the powerful Muslim Brotherhood in a standoff with the ruling military council, which took power when Mubarak was ousted. The People's Assembly on Thursday passed legislation banning top officials who served under Hosni Mubarak from becoming president, a move which could derail former Vice President Omar Suleiman's attempt to become head of state. The measure, however, would need to be approved by the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces. The ruling Supreme Council of the Armed Forces insisted on Thursday that it was neutral when it came to the presidential candidates. The legislation approved on Thursday, an amendment to the law governing political rights, would also block the candidacy of anyone who served as a prime minister in the decade prior to Mubarak's removal from power. Salafi presidential candidate Hazem Salah Abu Ismail received on Thursday a formal document from the Immigration Department under the Interior Ministry that his late mother, Dr. Nawal Abdulaziz Noor, did not have dual citizenship. Sources with the presidential campaign of Abu Ismail said that Abu Ismail submitted the document to the Higher Electoral Commission to end a dispute over the nationality of his late mother. Abu Ismail's candidacy was in doubt last week when the Electoral Commission said his mother had obtained U.S. citizenship in October of 2006, which Abu Ismail repeatedly denied. The Supreme Court of the State Security SCSS decided on Wednesday to adjourn the trial of Jordanian spy Bashar Abu Zaid and Israeli Mossad officer Ofer Harari to a session on April the 18th. The head of the court, Counselor Makram Awad, took this decision in order to give the detainee a chance to finish all legal procedures for his trial, especially those related to his request to change the head of court. Abu Zaid's lawyer claims that the court doesn't follow up the case in the right way, ignoring requests of the defense in consecutive sessions. Clashes between the Syrian army and rebel fighters broke out Friday for the first time since a hard-won ceasefire came into force a day earlier. A monitor said the fighting was the first between the two sides since the UN-brokered ceasefire took effect at dawn on Thursday. Opposition activist group local coordination committees reported that dozens of tanks were deployed on the outskirts of Hamid El-Joz and near the border with Turkey, while heavy gunfire was heard as regime forces attacked a unit of the rebel Free Syrian Army. On Thursday, army deserters who were guarding a demonstration killed 2 soldiers who were trying to disperse a demonstration in the village of Bardij in central Hama province. Saif al-Islam, son of slain Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, told International Criminal Court officials that he hoped to be tried in Libya, but they doubted his words. According to the report for judges from the court's registry dated March 5th and made public Wednesday, Saif, who is wanted by the Hague-based ICC for crimes against humanity in trying to put down the bloody revolt against Gaddafi last year. But the report, which also backed up claims that Saif had been mistreated, said it appeared he was playing the part for the benefit of the Libyan prosecutor, whose representative was present in the hour-long meeting. The leaders of Sudan and South Sudan accused one another of wanting war, with each denying the other's charge, as Sudanese war plans bombed a bridge in the south after days of fighting in a contested border region. The heavy clashes, the worst since South Sudan won independence in July after one of Africa's longest civil wars, have brought the two former foes the closest to a return to outright war. The fighting started on Tuesday when southern troops captured the strategic northern city-producing district of Heglig, responsible for about half of the country's crude output, triggering a halt to oil production. The UAE has recalled its ambassador to Tehran for consultations after what it called a flagrant violation of its sovereignty by Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who visited a Gulf island claimed by both countries. Iranian state news agency IRNA reported that Ahmadinejad visited Abu Musa Island, some 60 kilometers off the United Arab Emirates, on Wednesday as part of a tour of Iran's Gulf coast. Both countries claim Abu Musa and other small islands located near key shipping lanes in the Strait of Hormuz at the mouth of the Gulf. The quartet of Middle East peacemakers appealed on Wednesday for the Israelis and the Palestinians to take confidence-building steps to improve the atmosphere for negotiations. Meeting in Washington on Wednesday, senior officials from the United States, the UN, Russia and the European Union, including U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton, also called for the international community to help the Palestinians meet their budget needs. The quartet urged both the Israelis and the Palestinians to refrain from actions that could undermine trust, including settlement construction by Israel.
Right, welcome back. And we have with us for discussion Dr. Hamid Eltgani, Professor of Public Policy at the AUC. And we're back to speak about Sudan and this new dispute between Sudan and South Sudan over Heglig, this oil field area on the border, also disputed borders. So can we just shed light on this new dispute?
You know, if we look at the dispute, to understand the dispute, you need to know the condition that these two countries went to the separation. And the bad thing about it is the CPA, the way it has been written, it never settled the core issues about the border, about the citizenship rights, about these oil, revenue arrangement.
Yes.
So it seemed to be the North government was always prepared for the separation, but never prepared for the consequence of the separation. And if we have seen the last 6 months, it was very clear that reaction, counter-reaction going on. And now we have seen that the South, because it depends on oil, 99% of the revenues or 95% of the revenue depends from the oil receipts. Now the oil completely shut off. That means suffocating the South. And
you mean that the North, or North Sudan, has shut down the oil pipelines?
Yes.
So and prevented oil from reaching South Sudan, just to make things clear.
Yes, that's true. And because they are selling the oil, and now they can't sell the oil, so the South is quite harmed by this economic condition. Everything is a new nation. They need this revenue for the development and for reconstruction. That was being denied. Now, what is the counter-reaction of the South? South is reacting to that. So if you shut off my wells, I could also shut yours. So that's why they are saying that, okay, well, let's close the Heglig too. So that's also, now the North is feeling the pain because almost about 30,000 barrels per day is coming from Heglig oil field, and that was closed now. So this might put two countries on the fate that is they will be seriously looking on how to challenge, how to face this reality. But the reality is, North need to do a lot of work than the South.
But that is one side of the story, because another side of the story, or how it is told by Khartoum and other international observers, that since the South independence, Khartoum lost about 75% of its oil production and billions of dollars in revenue, leaving the Heglig area as its main producer. So if the South now are attacking or they are controlling this area, then they are the one who are threatening the North.
Here it is. The 75% of the oil is produced in the south. And the pipeline is running from the south to the north. The north, because of the disagreement on the fees, that is, the north has put very expensive fees that is unaffordable for the south. As a result, instead of allow the oil flow while the negotiation going on, what has happened is the north was confiscating the oil from the south. Illegally they are trading it, and that's when it triggered south to react, and they shut down the pipelines. Now the north, it rely on they depends previously on the oil, of course, because the economy on the north is also very, very, very weaker.
Struggling,
and
yes.
Is unstranded. Yes. And now they put like $32 per barrel to cover the deficit that they have it, because the deficit is around $7 billion. The government revenues is about $2 billion that is coming from the gold and other taxes. So they need to have $11 billion to run the government. They don't have it, suffocated. So now they were thinking about also changing the government in the south as one of the strategy that to bring a different government. South is reacting to that. They feel that their future is not going to be prosperous unless the government in the north change its behavior, or it will be changed.
So now the South have said that they are ready to withdraw from the Heglig area if the North would withdraw from Abyei. But international arbitrators ruled 3 years ago that Heglig was not part of Abyei. So how do you view the situation here?
I won't take the claim of the sudans that Heglig is a part of the north. And this is just tactically they are putting it in so that they can swap area with another area. If the government in the south, in the north, is saying that some areas in Abyei is a part of north, they are also saying that let's attack that one. So this is the kind of a negotiation tactics. They can withdraw, and eventually they will withdraw, but the thing that is they want, the assurance is the guarantee that is the government in the north will come with a good faith, that is to settle the problems. And the other thing is, if the issue of the Blue Nile and the Nuba Mountains and the Darfur issues, if these issues are not settled, still the north-south relation will never be as a normal relations.
Yes, we want to shed light more on these two areas also.
Yes, because if you look at the Blue Nile and Nuba Mountains, these are the special protocols they signed in the CPA, that there will be a popular consultations after the separation. What has happened is, just as the government is not ready for the separation of the South, they were not ready for the public consultations as well. So at the end, what has happened is the people over there elected governors from the Blue Nile was asking for the public consultation and some sort of autonomy to run their affairs other than meddling by the central government. In the Nuba Mountains, the government rigged the elections, and the candidate that's supposed to win the office, they end up, he lost the election by just rigging, and that has triggered the crisis in the Nuba Mountains. And what is happening on the Nuba Mountains? That is just like the same thing is happening in Darfur. We'll see that there are tremendous civilian casualties. People fled the main towns, living in the mountains. The area bombardment is very brutal. The government has no military machine as strong, but they use the air campaign, which is tend to targeting the civilians. And that's also the international community saying that let's have access to the refugees and providing them the food. The government is denying them the food. I think that is quite very inhumane conditions. People are living
in Darfur?
In Blue Nile right now.
Blue Nile, yeah.
Darfur right now, people are starving actually because now the NGOs have been expelled a year ago, and now the government organization claim that they can provide support.
Several days ago, we've heard that the Sudanese government accepted a visit by Hamid Ali, the Arab League chief, to go to Darfur to see the situation himself and observe what Darfur needs exactly, and to prepare for a donors conference along with Qatar. So how do you view this step?
You know, one thing that I would say is about the Arab League, especially during the Amr Musa case. They did a very bad job. They mismanaged the case of the matters in Sudan, especially in Darfur. They deliberately misled the Arab world to believe that the struggle in Darfur is between Arabs and non-Arabs, which is not true. And at the end, they have sided with the government of Sudan in that genocidal tactics. The Syrian government was sending air forces to bomb the civilian there, and the government of Sudan was part of it. And even the old regime here, they were supported on it. Now, I think Nabil Arabi will make the mistakes. If they believe that there is a peace in Darfur, there is no peace in Darfur. The refugees has refused to go back to their original places because the security is not available. The party that signed the Doha peace agreement is the weakest party that has no army, has no presence. It is some sort of intellectual, just like somebody like me, a professor at the university, was invited to go there and sign documents. At the end, people has refused to comply with it. He himself could not able to visit the camps. And so the conditions are very bad right now. Nobody is believing there is. And the Qataris themselves, I think they abandoned these documents almost.
As you're speaking here, I was part of the delegation of the Arab League that went to Darfur about 2 years ago, and to see the situation there, and because of some projects that the Arab League has initiated. I don't know about misleading the world vision towards the Darfur conflicts, because we have to know more about the nature of the fighting there. You're saying it's not a war between the Arabs and the non-Arabs. Then what is it all about?
You know, this is the war between the people that are oppressed, people that are looking for liberty, people that are looking for freedom, people that are looking for justice, people that are looking for development. You went to those areas, how people are impoverished.
Yes, they are very much indeed.
The other thing is the fund that the Arab League has provided, it was used, is misused, and with a corrupt governor of Darfur. They use it
Minawi?
Not Minawi, this is the Kibir. This is the governor of Darfur. They use the fund to finance the military operations. And that's why when the Arab League went there, they found nothing there. There was no development project. The funds is these the most abusive funds that is people are witness about it. And they use the fund actually to appropriate the funds for the military operations. So they are taking from one hand under the development banners, on the other hand they're using for military operation. Government today, they need the money. And that money, whenever money that they collect, it will never go to Darfur, it will go to Khartoum. It will go to the pockets of the people that are running the affairs. So that's why the Arab Leagues need to put this fund until people come out with a government that is representative, until the things will settle in Sudan. But it is preempt to waste money, and not only this, to make things even worse by giving the money to empower the military machine to kill more people. So it is not a viable option. Even the Qataris, you know, the government is very keen to get this $2 billion from the Qataris to run the military machine. And lots of intellectuals right now, they are discussing, even circulating a letter to the Qataris, demanding them not to release the funds to the government in Khartoum.
When we're speaking here, we have the sense, or we know that Darfur, the Blue Nile, the Nubian mountains, as you're speaking, they want independence, or they are calling for independence, as did the South. So how do you view the situation here? I mean here, isn't Khartoum in this way trying to defend its unity rather than anything else? You tell us more about this.
You know, whoever are ruling the Khartoum today are minority regarding the population of Sudan, you know, enlarged, if you look at it. If you look at the Darfur actually Darfur is the one that is a big chunk of the Sudan itself. And in a contrary, people thinking that Darfur was an independent entity become part of Sudan, and it's contrary. It was part of the Sudan, and the rest of the Sudan has joined Darfur. So Darfur right now is about 70%, 60 to 70% of the population of the country. So there is no interest for anybody looking for separation. In a contrary, people are looking in a way to bring the country together. And even the south, people want to get it together. Even relation with Egypt, people want to see that this is the Nile Valley's countries, that they could come out with some sort of a formula of the regional integration. So the recipe is there. The only player that people need to take him out of the equation is al-Bashir and his party. This is the one that are spoiling the relation with the south, spoiling the relation with Darfur, is spoiling the relation with the Nuba Mountains. They are the ones that are framing the issue as if the conflict is between the Arabism and Africanism, and they forgot that is 100% of the population in Darfur are Muslims, and almost majority of them are speaking Arabic. So it's not about the cultural wars, it's a war of development, war for freedom, and just as we have seen it in the Arab region here, in the Arab Spring here, people are looking for change. And that change ought to happen in Sudan. Sudan people started the change very earlier, but with a different means. And we have a dictator that entrenched, and it is time for him to leave.
So it's bread, social justice, and freedom.
Freedom.
I have only 2 minutes left, and I need to get back to Sudan and South Sudan here with accusations from both parties regarding matters and over the situation there. Khartoum is saying that the South are fulfilling an outside agenda. The South are saying that Sudan is initiating a full war. So how can this be calmed down, especially with the African Union negotiations here falling?
You know, I don't see that African Union is qualified to resolve this dispute, because they don't have that lot of credibility to carry anything in the continent. However, the theory of the conspiracy theory that al-Bashir was using it for the last 20 years is always illusion. The South have a very legitimate concerns. The Source has also concerns, and those ought to be, addressed between these two countries together, the leadership among these two countries, and not only themselves. Also, I don't see the international influence is always useful, because they are making messier, and especially the cases that we have seen it. International community interfered in Darfur, they left it there. They interfered in the Blue Nile, and they left it there. And the Nuba Mountain, they left it there. So this is a matter of the Sudanese people to resolve it. In the north, they need to come out with a broader, inclusive government that is likely to go over a transitional government that will resolve this issue with the south. And we will see that the long-term relation between the north and the south will be integrated, economic integration formula, social integration formula, and I think people need to see justice and freedom in the north.
Unfortunately, our time is up, but the discussion is not up to here, and we have to get back to this discussion once again. If nothing happened in the region, then we'll get back to it by next week. Dr. Hamid Eltgani, Professor of Public Policy at the AUC, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And dear viewers, many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the French transmission taking over right after this program.